Hi guys, this is the advisor and welcome back to my channel. Today's story is about the greatest, the most extreme case of injustice ever to be meted out to a Jamaican citizen by the government of Jamaica. It concerns a group of 16 men, and in one particular member of that group, his name is Collis Brown, known most famously as Chucky Brown. To begin the story, we need to go back a few years. In about 2007, the quiet town of Maypen and the surrounding areas, which is in a section of Jamaica, a parish called Clarendon, all of a sudden it began to develop a whole lot of murders. From about 43 per year, it went up steadily over a number of years till it went up to about 120 to the 130s, 140s. Now, this was a huge escalation because we're looking at an escalation of about up to 300% in only about 4 or 5 years. So the government realized that what was causing it was that there were several gangs in that area, about well over a dozen gangs. But there were about 8 major ones that were causing most of the problems. What the problem was that there was extortion. These gangs were competing with each other to see how they could extort the citizens in that parish. It started from in the schools where the gangs would recruit youths as young as 12 years old and have them extort the fellow students of their lunch monies and take those monies in to the gang members. And from there, the little sellers on the street selling their small wares, the hawk and peddlers, they had to pay extortion. The bus drivers, the taxi drivers, the conductors, they all had to pay or were killed. It went on to, it even went up to as high as the merchants in the area, furniture stores, grocery shops, supermarkets, everything. Basically, nightclubs, everybody had to pay. And they were making millions of this and using these millions of dollars to buy guns and more guns, and were killing anybody who they were not paying or who they considered their rivals. And that pushed up the murder rate so high in the parish, and the parish was like, in almost complete chaos. The police had a problem getting order within the Clarendon zone, and they didn't know what to do. So eventually, they decided the only thing they could do was to send in a rescue team. They handpicked 16 men and gave them vehicles and equipment and everything and sent them into Clarendon to fix the problem. One of the things that they were supposed to do was to rescue the youths, the young men in the area, try to begin some little social programs, try to get them to learn trade, get them back into school. But in other words, to do things to have activities, social and community activities that would prevent the youth from turning to crime or to leave gangs and, get themselves into living useful and productive lives. So this program was going on. However, there is a hardcore group of gang members who were hell-bent on keeping the status quo where they can rule with impunity. And those people were incorrigible. There is no way they would change or can change. And the decision was made that those people would have to be eliminated. So the program, this two-pronged program, went on. And both sides of the program were carried out. Some youths were really put back on the straight track, on the straight and narrow, and others were eliminated. It so happened that these guys, these 16 policemen, got very good at their jobs. And they really eliminated a lot of these individuals who were the cause of the problem. They did such a good job that there was a quick turnaround. There was a turnaround in the city completely. And to give you an idea, I'm going to go to a press release put out by the Associated Press. This is one of the best news clearinghouses in the world, well respected. And they attended a function. And I'm going to tell you, just give you a snippet of the report that they had put out at that function. And this was put out in 2011. Here goes. At the annual Clarendon Police Awards banquet on Sunday, November 6, 2011, in Maypen, Clarendon, to honor the successes of the Clarendon Police, head of the Clarendon Police Senior Superintendent Dayton Henry has attributed a 52% drop in murders in the parish since 2011. He attributed to an anti-crime strategy which has dismantled more than a dozen criminal gangs. We have dismantled over a dozen dangerous gangs operating within the parish, and we have totally degraded their capabilities. Hence, we have seen a reduction in the murder figures, SSP Henry told the attendees. The SSP said that the police initiative called the Gang Reduction and Prevention Education tries to steer vulnerable youths away from crime. He went on. We target young men who are on the brink or who have been involved in gang activities, and we want to encourage corporate Clarendon to come on board and support this program. If we can prevent these youngsters from getting into crime, we will be able, for years to come, to further drive down murder figures in the parish. Anyway, it's a lot more, but basically that gives you an idea that a 52% drop in murders in the parish, and this happened over about 3 years. This Associated Press report, it was also taken up by the biggest newspaper in Jamaica, the Daily Gleaner, and it was also posted in the Jamaica Information Service website. So we know it's a significant development that the world was able to see. What brought about the downfall of this organization, of this program with these 16 men and this rescue team, was that they actually had gone after one of the biggest violence producers in the area and head of one of the major gangs. His name was Adif Washington. Now, Adif Washington had been called up in 7 murders that he did specifically by himself. And there was another 8 or 9 that he was said to have ordered. And these were only the known ones. So in other words, at least 15 people he's responsible for killing. At least he either did personally or had a hand in some way, shape, or form. Now, this man was extremely dangerous, and they went after him. And when they went after him, they caught up with him on the 13th of January, and they dealt with his case. He was shot. And then when he was shot, he laid on the ground. They got a vehicle, put him in the vehicle, and took him to the Maypen Hospital. But when he went to the Maypen Hospital, they thought they were taking in a dead body. But when he went and in the ER and were surrounded by medical team, he just jumped up and said, "Listen, I'm not dead, I'm not dead." In other words, he was playing possum. And he lay there, pretended to be dead, so that they could take him to the hospital. And eventually, They took him in, revived, took him into operation, worked on him, and put him in a hospital bed. In other words, likely he was going to survive, possibly. Because I don't know the extent of his injuries, but basically he was worked on and put in a hospital bed. That was on January 13th. Now, on January 15th, of that, just 2 days later, a group of masked men went into the hospital and shot him up in the hospital bed, killing him right where he lay, which I think was the right thing to do. Anyway, eventually it was found out, for some reason it came to light, that the men who went into the hospital and got him were actually policemen, members of this same team. Anyway, INDICOM, the Independent Commissioner of Investigation, they got on board and they start investigating these policemen, eventually arresting the policemen. They arrested, and the whole team, the whole scheme, the whole plot came to light. When it came to light, the policemen who were arrested, they were put in jail and held without bail. Now, while they were being held without bail, they were awaiting trial, and they were completely abandoned by the police hierarchy. The same men who sent them to do this work, and which they did such a fine job and brought down the murder rate and the crime rate in the area of which they were in charge, they were abandoned as soon as the operation came to light. Now, these men were in jail for well over a year with no help from the government. The government didn't even send a representative to speak with them. The Jamaica Constabulary Force, they simply withdraw from them as they were no longer existing, as if they no longer existed, and just step aside. Now, Chucky Brown, he felt slighted. As a matter of fact, all 16 men felt slighted. So they realized that they were now being abandoned by the system that had used them. And of course, this is how anybody would feel. So, yeah, INDICOM knew that for them to make any headway in this case, they would have got to get one of the men from the rescue team to come up and break his silence, because several trials had gone on and the men keep becoming acquitted. So they knew they had to get somebody to turn against somebody else. And they chose this guy called Chucky Brown. Now, Chucky Brown, they asked him to give a statement. He's trying to say, okay, we know you're not the only one involved in this, and we know you had orders. Here is what we want you to do. I want you to tell us who sent you. Give us a full report on exactly what is going on, how the scheme worked. Tell us also what you did, because we are going to know to be certain that you are part of what happened and you know what you're talking about. You have to also tell me what you did. In other words, we want to turn you into state witness. And when you become the state witness now, you will become immune from prosecution. So we'll prosecute all the big superintendents and assistant commissioners, deputy commissioners, all the people in the higher echelons of the police force who gave you the job to do, and you will give testimony against them. Now, Chucky Brown felt that this is his way out, because he didn't feel he owed these men any obligation or any loyalty, because they had worked him and then abandoned him. He was not getting a salary. All his family is now separated from his family. His life is over. He had to look out for himself. So he said, all right, since these Indicom guys are now going to become my friend, well, I am going to have to hug them up because this is my way back to getting my life back. So he sat down with them and he told Indicom everything that he did. And it was recorded. Now, this was done so that he could become state witness against the people who had thrown him under the bus. But here is what happened. When Indicom got his statements and they were sure that they had dotted their I's and crossed their T's, what did they do? They used those statements against Chucky Brown. They used the statements and said, this is why we're going to find Chucky Brown guilty. And they used it to prosecute Chucky Brown. Now, they had inveigled him into, and coerced him into implicating himself with the intention, with the promise that he would be free from, be immune to prosecution and go after the other people. But what? After he gave the statements, they abandoned him. They simply turn around and use it against him. We're no longer your friend. We are going to sink you. And they sank him. They sank him. Let him get 51 life in prison with 51 years before parole. Now, the whole point is that they did not go after any of the big wigs. The people in the high command, the people who sent down the orders, the people who gave the list of people who were to have been eliminated, all of them scotch-free got away and are pillars of society, while the little gophers who went and did the quote-unquote dirty work are now rotting in prison. This man, when you give a man 51 years, what have you done? You have taken his life, because he'll not live to come out of prison, because I don't know, he's probably about 35. So when you add 50 odd years on that, he's not going to live 80 odd years, not in prison conditions. You have taken his life. The sad part is that if Indicom claims to be going after the people involved, why is he afraid, or why is he not touching anybody who were implicated in it? The statement was good enough to sink Chucky Brown himself against himself, but it was not good enough to implicate anybody else. How could it not have been good enough to implicate anybody else? Now, I would like to call on Hugh Faulkner. Hugh Faulkner, you're supposed to be the head of Indicom. Now, I'm going to ask you this. If the statement that Chucky Brown gave was good enough to sink Chucky Brown, why is that statement not good enough to place any member of the police high command, all the superintendents and commissioner and assistant commissioner and the other people there? Why were nobody up there arrested? Why was it nobody above the rank of sergeant being actually implicated further than what Chucky Brown has said? Why is it the Buddy Club? Because here, why I say you and your organizations are a set of hypocrites. Because if you were really after this to gain justice for any of those people who were killed, why you start at the bottom? And why is only the people at the bottom you are interested in collecting? What this shows, sir, you and your team, the main purpose you serve is to profile. You are there to profile. You are there to pretend to keep yourself in a job. You had to show up yourself as at least putting one man as a token in prison, as a token, and you went for the lowest hanging fruit. And the lowest hanging fruit was Chucky Brown. So you picked the lowest fruit, give yourself a medal, you sit back and you join your buddy club with the people at the high command and in high politics. You are a set of hypocrites, and your organization is of no use to this country. You have now caused the crime in Clarendon to have climbed back up, and those blood are on your hands and the hands of hypocrites like you who are up there doing these things to the ordinary man in the street. And sir, I hope your hell will be very hot. You and your entire team. You're a set of really the lowest of the earth. And I say this, if this world was fair, first of all, Chucky Brown would not have been even arrested if this world was fair. But it's not fair. But even at this late stage, you know what would have been the best outcome of this? Chucky Brown should have been given a pardon, full pardon, by the Governor General of Jamaica. And after he get that full pardon, he should have been reinstated in his job, given a promotion, and on Heroes Day next year, October, he should have gone up and received some medal for the exemplary and human service he and his team has provided for this country, if this world was fair. But with hypocrites like you partner, and your entire team who are just out there to profile and keep yourself into a job, you have caused the crime rate in this country to be going up. I hope your hell is very hot. Now, that's what I have to say. Guys, like, share, and look forward to seeing you in my next video.